Okay, I did it. I am live in two places at once. Oh my god. Hey everybody. How is it going? And the comment thing is working way better too. That's actually super cool. Can I do add everyone here? I cannot. I'm gonna have to do that on the main page still. Well, anyway, it's lunch with Mal time. I'm here, I'm queer, and apparently my makeup smudged and I didn't notice. So I've got this going on. I think it happened at the chiropractor, which actually often happens at the chiropractor when I'm face down on the thing and then makeup smearing occurs. All right, I am just going to bring up the stream over here so I can say hi. Hey, Deborah and Mona. Everyone. There we go. Lunch. Mal. Wait, check. It's crazy that we're halfway through the year, right? Like it did not feel like this year. I don't know, like we'd make it halfway. I feel like it's been an event. Oh, that's interesting. It's how you can't stream to my Facebook profile now, but it's streaming. I wonder if my problem all along with trying to get this thing to stream to the group has been that I've been trying to stream to my profile and the group at the same time, and Facebook can't do both. That's fascinating and unfortunate at the same time. All right, well, we're going to roll like this. We're going to roll with the group and YouTube for everybody, and we'll see how it goes. Okie dokie. Because we got a bunch of people in the group. That's awesome. I'm just trying to organize my windows because there's too many of them. Okay, I'm good now. I think. Oh, that's pesky. It's not showing me all the comments in the group. Well, anyway, I'll keep up with everything. How are folks doing today? That's the most important question. Curious how everyone's doing. What's going on with you? I'm doing pretty fabulous, to be honest. Happy about that. I don't have any comments from YouTube. I'm kind of wondering if that's not working or something like that. Say hi, folks, if you can see me, just so I know this is working. I'm trying this new thing where I'm streaming twice on two different pieces of software to see to finally get it working in the group. But if people aren't able to actually see me in both places, then maybe I'll just nix it. Like I can see the live video, so I think it's working. Hey, Shannon. All right. Anyway, all of my rambling aside, I was trying to think of like the topic for today, and the thing that like kind of like stuck in my noggin as I was thinking about it is the fact that we are a couple of days ago we passed halfway through the year. Because middle of June is halfway through the year. Oh, also, happy Juneteenth, everybody. Um, so halfway through the year, but not only are we halfway through the year, we're halfway through the decade. And not only that, we're over halfway to 2050. If we're now closer to 2050 than we are to the year 2000, which is super trippy. I don't know why. I don't know why that's trippy, but it is. It's oh, thanks, James. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's totally trippy. Oh, thanks, Deborah. Thank you as well. Well, hey, yay, it's working in both places. So yeah, it's the halfway mark. Other kind of wild thing to think about, just sort of thinking about like time passing and what's going on, is we're about 17 years now into the ebook revolution. Um, exactly when you would think like there's ebooks came around, and then we got to a revolution. Um, sorry, I'm freaking you out. Get astrologic. But you know, so exactly when the revolution started is hard to say. You know, I would say that probably around 2010 is when ebooks really like started to kick off. Probably around 2015 is when ebooks really became like valid per say. I know it's sort of a weird way to describe it, but like before 2015, it it was it was arguably print books were still bigger than ebooks. But after 2015, it became pretty hard to argue that print was bigger. Print might make more money dollar wise, but that's just because they sell the product for more money. From volume of read standpoint, ebooks were significantly larger at that point at around 2015. So, to my mind, we're kind of like 10 years into the dominance of ebooks, which is a fascinating thing to think about, like how much being an author and the publishing landscape has changed in the past 10 years to the point now where we sort of assume that ebooks are the default and that print is the thing you do afterward for most people. I think it's sort of profound, to be honest. And it's kind of wild that like we've all managed to either make a career or do the thing, like even if it's like not at a career level, like do the thing that you've always wanted to do that we didn't get used to do. So I personally feel like it's worth just some reflection and thoughtfulness about, and also just like a little bit of like, holy shit, like we as authors did this. We mainstreamed us being able to work directly with our readers versus having to go through other people. And I think that's actually like really valid um, and useful. So kind of just some crazy thoughts along those lines. One thing that is weird though is that I'm not getting not that many people are finding the stream. I wonder if I do need to change this and maybe for now actually just nix out of the group and just stream from my profile instead. I think I'm going to do that. So those of you watching in our group, I'm glad I figured out how to do it now. I need to figure out another solution down the road that's going to allow me to stream to my Facebook profile and the group at the same time. But I'm gonna stop streaming to the group, and I'm going to flip over and start streaming to the. Hey Judith, uh, I've heard you guys are having a heat wave. Is it up over 30 right now? So I'm going to start streaming to my profile and not the group because it's not really. I'm not getting the normal crowd like we normally would do. So let me just kill that. Oh, before I kill it though, there should be a link in the first comment to watch on YouTube, or you can go to my personal profile and watch there. All right, so I'm going to kill that. Let's see if I can stream to in live video. And all right, see if I can actually stream to my profile now. Remove. Pardon me as I do this. Is it going to work? All right, it worked. Cool. That's actually for those of you who aren't nerds, probably don't really care, but for those of you who are nerds, I've just discovered that you can't run 2 streams to Facebook at the same time, and I think that's actually been the root of my problem all along. So, hooray! But yeah, so now that I'm not also running an experiment and everything's going to one place, let me catch up on the comments. It's one extreme the other. One day it's chilly, next 30 degrees, and we're all melting, of course, because we don't have aircon. I mean, 30 degrees isn't that warm. Let's be honest, Judith. What is 30 degrees in Fahrenheit? I have this weird thing where I know Celsius and I know Fahrenheit separately, but I don't know them like the conversion that well. Okay, it's 86. Okay, maybe that is like legit. But I'm different than other human beings. I will wear a blanket until it's 80 degrees, so about 27 Celsius. I run actually hot, which means more temperatures feel cold to me. So I am not like a good person to use for this sort of thing. Let's see, Victoria says, if you're tired of being cold, Jill, come see me in Austin. It'll be in the 90s today. Oh, hey, Sydney as well. Didn't see you there. I missed a comment. Yeah, Jill will go anywhere for a pool. No questions asked. She's got no issues finding a pool. But oh, by the way, Jill, I've had this epiphany. So one of the things that we're we're kind of fighting with is like, okay, we're in a new place and looking to buy a house. What kind of house do we want to buy? I kind of want to buy a house that like needs a little bit of fixing up because I like to tinker. I want to have some stuff to do. I don't want a house that needs to be fully gutted and start over because of my body can't handle that much work. But I would love to have like, oh, I'm going to knock down a wall and combine two bedrooms into one or something like that. Like I actually like a little bit to do. Um, but that but the problem is when you start renovating a house like that, you're bound to uncover something that makes the project bigger. So you sort of assume the project will be twice as big as you thought it was because something's going to happen. Um, I think I might have come up with an idea. Look at Jill. Oh, you saw the message about the bus. She knows where I'm going. Yeah, so I'm like, I could buy a bus and renovate a bus, and that way it's like this self-contained thing that isn't like going to affect the living situation. And then you turn the bus into like a cool motorhome. I found a number of really cool buses. The problem is like a bunch of the buses are actually too big, like full size, like Greyhound size buses for like $10,000. One of them had more than 1,000,000 miles though. That's a little bit too much. Good morning, Tim. Jill is pretty funny, isn't she? I don't know, honey. I'm trying to think of a way to have my cake, not have it be too big. You know, it's like a smaller slice of cake is what I'm going for here. Anyway, so how are people doing halfway through the year now that we're here? And it doesn't have to be exactly writing related. It could just be like it could be writing related. It could be marketing related. It could just be like you, like how well are you doing as you sort of reflect on us being halfway through the year. And then on top of that, a lot of us, when we plan out our year, in January or December, whatever you end up doing, we plan out till about June or so. And then afterwards, our plan says something like, here be dragons, like we haven't actually like worked out what's going to happen in the second half of the year. So I think this is a really good time to do that, to be thinking like, what does your publishing schedule look like in the second half of the year? And the second half of the year is much more structured than the first half of the year. First half of the year sort of has this long tail from Christmas, and then we move into spring. Well, that's funny, honey. It's full your role now. um, but once we get into summer, we've got like a couple of like sort of big objects that sit there. The period I talked about before, from Mother's Day till after July 4th in the United States specifically, is a slower period. Things pick up again mid-July, so the week after July 4th. So this year that will be so the 4th is on a Friday. So it's the week of the 6th is still kind of like the tail end of that holiday week. And then the 13th of July, that week, is where things sort of start to stabilize into the normal summer routine. Most summer programs are up and running at that point. People can send their kids off to those. And that consistency stays until somewhere in the second last week of August. So this year, it'll be like the week of the 17th is when things start to go kind of haywire again as everybody's getting ready for school. Maybe a little bit earlier because some areas of the United States go back to school around that time. Some areas in the United States go to school before that. Um, so you've got like this period in the middle of the summer, and so when you're thinking about releases, I would not release myself until that middle period of the summer. We're sort of in like this dead zone right now. Where you don't want to be doing a lot of releases. You could be doing sales and other activities to try to bolster things right now, but releasing right now is going to be not going to go super well. On top of that, we've got the Amazon rank issue where rank is only updating like every 3 or 4 days or something like that. And that's really affecting people's releases. I don't know anyone who's had a good release in like the last 2 or 3 weeks because you miss out on bestseller tags and hot new releases. And it seems like some of Amazon's sort of organic marketing it does for like putting you in the emails that go out doesn't happen if your rank isn't good enough and the sales aren't reporting. So because everything's behind, it looks like your new release didn't do anything. So you don't get those emails going out. So it's dramatically affecting people's releases. So that's also sort of compounding this time of year not being a good release time. Hopefully they get that squared away and they make it so the rank updates at least once a day, for goodness sakes. So that's not helping right now either. So my plan for myself actually is I have a release that's going to happen early August, possibly late July if I can get things done in time. But it'll probably be early August that the book will come out. And then I personally would not release again until about mid-September because you want to sort of wait for things to settle down. Usually, I guess the second week of September we'll do. Labor Day is going to be on Monday the 1st of September. So come like the 7th or 8th, I think the Labor Day holiday should be pretty much wrapped up and everybody should be getting back into their jam. So that should be fine. But then you've only got until you got this window until about the 14th of November. So 7th of September to 14th of November is like your primo things are cooking kind of time of year. And then you can do really good sales during American Thanksgiving, but you don't want to release during American Thanksgiving. And then after American Thanksgiving is over, which I think it's on the third week of November, right? Which means it'll happen on the 20th. So that means this year, thank goodness, we have a full week after American Thanksgiving before December hits. So by December 1st, things should be like cooking again. And then you'll have like that amazing 6 weeks from December 1st until about halfway through January, which is like one of the best times of the year for book sales, especially if you have an older audience that you want to try and remove some print with, or you sell kids books, middle grade books, that sort of thing. Then that is like your golden time. Sydney says, get a fixer upper with room for a pool. Money saved on fixer upper, you put an in-ground pool with a greenhouse cover on it. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it, Sydney? A little bit less time for using a pool here. We need to get electric heater, and if you get an electric heater, then you also need to get the house upgraded to 200 amps, and the electric heater is going to be about $10,000 for the pool. It'll be a heat pump, like a mini split, basically, but for a pool. And then the electrical upgrades will probably cost you $5,000 at least. So you're looking at $15,000 just to heat the pool that you put in. So I don't think we're going to be doing that. A hot tub, though. Hot tub's a different story. We might totally do that. Pig Monster, otherwise known as Tim, says still waiting on an update getting out of base shacks into my own apartment. Oh, nice. I was told I'm nearing the top of the list to get one beginning in May, but nothing since then. Oh man, I hope that happens soon, Tim. It sounds like a lot of anticipation for nothing yet. Cicero says Mel rock. I do rock, don't I, Sith? Deborah says, put my new release for September 9th. I think you'll be good then. You're past the brouhaha of that time of year. It is the one you've been waiting for, Tim. Tim's one of my readers who is desperately waiting for my next book. And it's actually the new editor's already working on it. I've looked over some of her edits. I really like what she's doing. So I'm super stoked about that. And I'm about 200 pages ahead of her just going through the notes and everything I have and reading through everything. So I'm actually pretty stoked that the book will be in a good place pretty soon. James says, my releases for the rest of the year are mid-July, perfect. Mid-September, also perfect. Mid-October, mid-November, and the day after Christmas. Those sound great, James. I would say, like, I guess my one thought for November is, depending on where mid falls, I would do it the week of the 10th, not the week of the 17th. Let me double check when U.S. Thanksgiving is this year. I lived there for 25 years, and I still don't know really when it happens. When is U.S. Thanksgiving? Oh, it's the 27th. Damn it, I thought it was the 3rd November. 3rd Thursday in November. It's the 4th. Well, shit. Okay, well, then that first week of December is going to be a little bit rocky as well, just like it was last year. But then middle of November should be fine then, James. Hot tub I could get behind. I kind of feel the same way, honey. A pool here might be kind of depressing that we're like, there's our pool and it's too cold to go in it. I'd rather have like a water feature with like a little waterfall in a pond or something like that, because then we get the sound and the moving water. Maybe some koi fish or something like that. Yes, it throws. I also am down for a hot tub for that very reason, something to help my back. I live on a heating pad at night because my upper back and my lower back both hurt a lot these days. So like I'll get the lower back all nice and warmed up, and then my upper back will cramp up, and I'll slide the heating pad up underneath me, and I'll warm up my upper back. And apparently, you're not supposed to sleep on a heating pad because you might die. But I might die if I don't use it. So it's kind of the same thing. you get that update, Tim. That'd be awesome. Troy says, what would you say the best strategy for launching a free prequel to the new PWF series book one launching early September? I would probably do the free prequel early August. Like, get yourself out there maybe a month, 5 weeks in advance, and start drumming up action with that. Depending, I guess, on how much you want to put behind ads and push on the free prequel. If you're like willing to put some money and some oomph behind it, doing some swaps and stuff like that, then early August. But if you want to sort of do more of a slow roll, a little more beating the streets versus spending money, then I might do it late July so that you can get more and more time in there. Cindy says, released a billionaire under a pen name June 7th, didn't have any fanfare. It just didn't want to bother. Hopefully my mojo for the next billionaire romance release should be early August. I get that, Cindy. And to be honest with book one, you just kind of want to get it out the door and get some people reading it, get some reviews, and then you do a big sale on book one when book two comes out, and you have that read through to sort of make it all worth its while. That can absolutely be a thing too. I'm going to be going through an interesting scenario, trying to get to revitalize my stuff, let my readers know that I do still actually exist. I haven't released a solo titled book since December of 2020. So it's been a stretch. I think it was December 24th of 2020 was last time I released a solo non co-authored title. So right now, and that was book one in a new series. So right now I'm actually running a $2.99 sale on that book, trying to help bring it up a little bit. And it's doing all right. It's picking up right now. It's not ranking. I think I'm only spending like a $5 a day ad on it, just kind of drumming up some attention. Oh wait, no, I'm not running any ads to it. That's right. I have one scheduled to start soon. I did get it up to like 30K in the store by hitting my newsletter and letting them know it's at $2.99. Right now it's back down at $2.50 rank. I will be starting an ad for it soon. It's still making me, like, in the last 30 days. It made $90 in the last 30 days, which is pretty cool for a book that came out, for book one that came out in 2020, had no advertising done on it this entire time. I'm pretty happy about that. I've got 37 sales in the last, no, just this month. This is even the last 30 days. Cool. So 19 days got a bunch of sales. I'm happy for that, because that hopefully will mean some new readers and some renewed interest in book two when it comes out. So that's going to be one of the things I'm going to be working on a bunch this summer is sort of like reminding my readers that I still exist. A lot of them are like, hey, is MD Cooper actually alive? And then getting that book out. It's going to be my big thing. And then I'm going to probably pause that series for like 6 to 9 months, and I'm going to write. It's got one, possibly two companion series that are going to run alongside of it. I'm going to start working on those, and those will be shorter, snappier releases that go along with it. I'm trying to think about 2020. Too many bad memories. I hear you with that, Sephiros. That was a rough year. That was the year that I just hit utter burnout. Well, it was actually more like I was entering into utter burnout. I actually was fully engaged in utter burnout in 2021. But we're now closer to 2030 than we are to 2020, Sithros. So we've got that going for us, right? Does that mean you don't do monthly newsletter to readers? I mean, when I'm publishing, Sydney, when I actually have stuff coming out, I'm doing a weekly newsletter. Right now, it's been sporadic, my newsletter. More when I'm like having some sales and stuff like that. But at my peak, when I was releasing frequently, I was doing 2 newsletters a week. So it was quite regular at that point. Because one of the things I think too when you're doing your newsletters is like, if you don't have anything to say that you think is actually going to be engaging, just doing a newsletter for newsletter's sake doesn't do you any service, because it's going to create garbage in people's inboxes, and then they're not going to open it or read your stuff, and that's going to actually eventually move you into spam or their other folder, or it's a lower priority location in their inbox, depending on what software they use. Victoria says, I've come up with a companion series too. What would your strategy be for launching a companion series? Usually what I do with my companion series is it starts off in book one of the main series, and at some point in this case, it happened right after book one. Sometimes I've done it after book two. Um, is that the companion series branches off. So some of the characters that I introduced in book one or just disappear from the main series. They go off on their side quest and then they come back later into the main series. That way, because the whole thing is like every time we're writing anything, well, our goal is to create curiosity with the reader, right? So we can make the reader curious about what we have going on. That's how we're going to get them to we're going to get them into it. If we don't create that sense of curiosity, it's far harder to get them to read anything. So if I can actually like get them invested in a character storyline and then say like, hey, if you want to learn more about the storyline, you got to go over here to read it. That curiosity factor is sort of built in. So that's been the tactic I've used the most. And I sort of stumbled upon that tactic for myself because I write too many plot lines in a book and it gets unwieldy and I have to break things apart. Otherwise, I can't actually like wrap a story up ever. So kind of how I handle that. My POV series is about 4 sisters. I have ideas for individual books for each sister. That could work. The question: are they running at the same time, or are they prequels? My stuff when I write a companion series, these are events that happen in parallel with the main series events. So it's usually side characters that move off, and then the main characters stick around. It could be weird if you took your main 4 sisters and gave them their own books. Interesting. As long as you can sort of like work out a scenario for why they would be on their own at this particular time and not working with the group when they're also doing things with the group, then it could work. That might get tricky to manage because the hard thing about doing something like that is if you put them in peril, like if you want to create conflict, of course you put the character in peril. But if they can just call on the other 4 sisters, other 3 sisters every single time, it gets harder to put them in peril. So it can be difficult to do that in parallel with your main series. You see that with the Marvel movies. You're like, why the hell don't they just pick up the phone and call fucking Captain America, or Iron Man or something like that? Like they wouldn't be going it alone on this, and it'd be trivial for Iron Man to come solve this problem. So why doesn't he? You can do that a couple of times, but after a while, you're kind of like, this is just getting ridiculous. That being said, Marvel did it relatively well, but even still, it got weird every now and then. So it can be complicated. For me, writing a massive sci-fi series, it can be like, well, they're on the other side of the galaxy. They just can't get there. Or it's also a massive war. So forces are just engaged across 1,000 different fronts, and we just can't pull people around willy-nilly to deal with stuff. In my books, actually, though, there is even 3 fleets whose sole purpose is to be a rapid response force that gets pulled wherever they're needed for if stuff is blowing up in a certain location. And even that's still like nowhere near enough to actually do it. So I do sort of address how they're trying to solve the problem of making it so that people aren't like on their own and in peril, but it's still not enough. Yes, that's also true. Cytheros. Yeah, a lot of the Marvel movies would be like Spider-Man has a problem with this, like with the Vulture. I think it was the Vulture was the guy that Michael Keaton played. And what are we going to do? And if Iron Man was there, he would just fly in, smash the Vulture into the ground, and then the movie would be over. So yeah, it is kind of ridiculous how some of them really wouldn't be stories. Which is always like, I think it's always been my biggest pet peeve when I'm going into any kind of media, when they don't really explain well enough why, or give me a good enough reason to believe that these characters can't just pick up the phone and call for help. It can, and that can pull me out. It can break my my suspension of disbelief. That's one of the things I think as authors we always need to remember is that when we're telling a story, we get one major suspension of disbelief, and that's the thing where we do something kind of implausible, and the reader's kind of like, or the viewer, if it's TV show, like, I'm not sure if I buy that. That seems kind of like a stretch, but I'll let it slide. You can get away with that once. If you do that more than once, you start to lose a noteworthy number of people. So you have to be very strategic how you do some of that stuff. They do. Tim says you still have it occasionally where they call an external force for reinforcement to help deal with the pressing issue. They have done that a few times, and I'm glad they did. But like I said, there are some of them where it's just like, really? Like the Wanda thing. Like, really, you didn't call there was no one you could call to help with the Wanda situation? Um, I think they did they eventually? I think they did. I can't remember now exactly how that wrapped up. Like, eventually someone showed up, help out with that, but then some of you don't watch Marvel at all, you're just like, "Wow, Mallory, this is super boring." Thanks for sharing this. Anybody else have some thoughts on, like, where their halfway through the year situation's going? Or what do you guys have planned for the end of the year? James has, what, 4 books planned for the end of the for the rest of the year? Um Oh, yeah, yeah, there you go, Cytheros. Yeah, they could just call up Doctor Strange. Um, he could have, like, dealt with it for sure. That's like I never thought of calling in Doctor Strange. I was thinking that they would call in Captain Marvel or something like that. Although I'm not entirely sure that she could resist Wanda. Um, she's more of a brute force sort of situation. But yes, we could get into like nerd arguments about which superhero would win. It's always a productive use of time. But yeah, I'm stoked about the rest of the year. Actually, I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna be tricky though too, right? Because the United States is in a little bit of turmoil, and uncertainty is not where it normally would be. One of the things I am seeing is that non-US markets are actually working pretty well right now, as compared to the US. Ads in the UK, Canada, and Australia can actually work decently. You do need to, of course, keep in mind the audiences are smaller, so of course your reach and your spend has to be scaled down appropriately. But I've got one client we're running $50 a day ads in Australia, and they're not like doubling their money. They're doing about 50% ROI, but it's not bad for Australia. So conversions are still working well in other places in the world. They're just not working super well in the United States. Um, what could happen in the future? My crystal ball's broken, so I don't know. But I actually remain optimistic actually about the rest of this year. That book sales can remain decent, and that we won't actually, have a nuclear winter or something like that. That's good, Victoria. I like it. CM Mason says, any advice for starting with direct sales? That's a good question. How many books do you have, CM Mason? Are you thinking about setting up a Shopify website and putting your ebooks up there, or are you thinking just print books for now? Well, you keep your ebooks in KU. Judith says, I'm paying off a big bill, so I told my editor the earliest she'll hear from me was August. I have 4.5 manuscripts that need me to edit them before they can go to her. So you got some work to do, Judith. I do get that though. Yeah, like I like to do my run throughs before things go off to my editor. Do you think conversions in the US aren't working so well because of the crazy saturation? No, I think they're not working well because of political unrest. Um, CM Mason, 5 books in print only. You can make a Shopify store and put your print books up on there. You can there's a variety of different ways you get them set, but you're not going to be able to successfully run ads to them. Uh, You're going to have to rely on like your existing readers wanting to buy your print books, like buy signed books from you or something like that to do well with it. Um, just because the amount you're going to have to ask for a significant number of books when you're doing print only is pretty high, and it's hard to get new readers to bite on that unless you like sell book one as a loss leader. Let's say for example your cost on book one is $6. That's what Amazon's going to charge you to get you a print on demand copy, or maybe you got them sort of printed in bulk. So let's say your cost for book one is $6. If you did book one as a loss leader at like $9.99, like regular $15.99, on sale for $9.99, maybe you could get some conversions going on that. But it's pretty hard to do that with paid advertising. Um, you would have the 5 books worth of read through, but a lot of people do better with bundles, even with print when they're just like 1 through 3 for like a good price or something like that. You've got a little bit of upsell with 4 and 5, um, but it might be pretty touch and go as far as profitability is concerned. You might be able to grab some new readers, but profitability is pretty tricky. Um, that being said, as we get closer to Christmas, then it would probably work. like a print only e-store um, can do well November and December and in the very beginning of January because of presents and stuff like that. But print sales surge around that time of year. It's going to be a tricky thing to keep going all year round. Um, Ebooks you could probably do better if you were to move them out of KU and do like a 3-book bundle and then upsells for books 4 and 5 would probably be your best bet for those. But it is scarier to do that. I find for most people that what's really better is having once you get 2 series, then things can go better because you have more read through. And that's one of the big things to keep in mind too when you're doing direct sales is you now have to be responsible for all the read through. Amazon does a lot of stuff for us and the other retailers to a lesser extent in getting good read through from book 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, etc. When you're doing your own sales, you have to do the legwork on that. You have to be giving them promotional discounts on additional books, emailing them about like, hey, it's 2 weeks after you got book 1, or here's a $2 coupon if you want to get book 2 or something like that. You have to sell that up and then manage that. And we don't have quite the reach, so it is trickier. I don't mean to discourage you into doing this, but I do want you to be aware that it's a lot, and your Shopify store is going to cost you $30 a month. So you have to generate at least $30 in profit to even break even. And if you're selling print books at say $5 in profit, that means you have to sell 6 print books with no cost, no advertising cost. You have to sell 6 print books to actually even pay Shopify. And if you're doing paid advertising, maybe you're only going to make 20% ROI, which is actually really good for retail. 20% ROI is very good for retail. That means you're making what? So probably, I guess just to do some easy math, maybe you're making $2 with a 20% ROI on your ad spend, $2 a book, which means that you'd then have to sell 50 books to make another $100. So 6 books to break even on your Shopify costs, and then 50 books to make $100. It's hard to actually make a decent amount of money off of a print only ebook store or a print only e-store. So just some food for thought. Once you break into ebooks, it can be entirely different because you can scale so much more because your costs are so much lower. You don't have this fixed thing where you sell the book for $15 and 1/3 immediately goes to Amazon. And the other thing you have to keep in mind too is shipping. If you're in the US, it can be a lot easier because the US actually has really cheap shipping for books. But once you move out of the US, like into Canada and stuff like that, it costs you $20 to ship a book across the country. And it costs you even more to ship a book into the United States. So you have to decide, am I going to do like drop shipping where initially an easy way to do it is someone makes an order and then you have Amazon ship the book directly to them. Or you use something like Book Vault and have them to ship the book directly. And in both of those scenarios, you can't do signed books. And sometimes it's easier to command a higher price for the books if you're going to do signed. But then that, of course, has a whole bunch of logistics involved in it. Print books it's a pain. That's how I feel about it. So I feel like such a negative Nancy about this. But it's a lot. Setting up e-commerce to do just print is a lot of work. And I don't know that I think it can be really useful for like getting your toes wet into it and seeing if you like it. But it is interesting. The downside is getting your toes wet with it the hardest possible way. Something that I think can be a bit of and this depends on the size of your readership. Something that I think can be a better way to sort of dip your toes into this whole thing is by doing a Kickstarter instead. Because a Kickstarter is like a one-time thing where you get to sell print books and have add-ons that people can buy, and you can do some cool exclusive stuff. Like maybe they get like an extended edition of the book that has 2 chapters in it that aren't available anywhere else, and they get like a custom cover, and you get to make like these unique, fun, and interesting products that you also like and wouldn't mind having for yourself. And it's a one-time thing, right? It's a 2, 3, maybe 4-week push. 2 or 3 is better than 4. 4 is way too long for a Kickstarter. You push all the sales, you get the action going on, you build up the vibe, and Then you ship everything out after that, and then you're done. And you don't have to have like this ongoing thing that you're always maintaining and always paying for. Ads can work with Kickstarter. It's not as sure a thing. You have to kind of beat the street a bit more with Kickstarter, but you can actually advertise Kickstarters and have them work. It really depends on how well you've built the Kickstarter for how well they convert. Um, and then you also want to do like there's a whole sort of science to Kickstarter. Like you want to do a pre-launch period and get a whole bunch of people following you and stuff like that. Davina says I'm planning this book either July or August and at the latest. That's awesome. I'm glad you're like getting really close to getting that thing coming out. That's great. Congrats on that. Yeah. So I'm excited for the rest of this year though. I don't know exactly how well it's going to do, but I'm excited to have books coming out. I'm excited to be writing and enjoying the process of writing. Um, and I'm already up over like 70 or 80 pre-orders for this next book, which is super awesome. I also have a bunch of pre-orders that people put in my website eons ago that I'm also going to be fulfilling as well. I think there's like another 30 or 40 of those. So I'm pretty stoked for like the only marketing I've done for this thus far is my newsletter, and I've got that happening already. So it's pretty cool. But mostly, to be honest, for me, I'm just like excited to be getting a book out and have plans to get more books out. And that was one of the things I think that was really necessary for me is I loved storytelling. I never stopped loving my stories, but I kind of stopped loving the process of creating the stories, if that makes sense. And I'm really actually loving that again, which is super cool. That was something that I was worried I might not get back. I think a lot of writers go through this. We go through a burnout, and you're worried that you're not going to get the joy of writing back, the joy of the actual writing, fingers against keyboard kind of thing. A lot of writers like this is kind of oftentimes true for all of us, is that we enjoy having had written. We don't enjoy writing that much because it's kind of like sometimes solitary and grueling and stuff like that. So I'm pretty stoked that I'm going to get back into the fun part of it again. Um, so yeah, so I think that's kind of all the ramble I have today. It was great chatting with you folks. I'm doing live streams of writing, live sprints in 15 minutes. So if anybody wants to hang out on my YouTube channel, that's where they're going to happen. youtube.com/Mallory Cooper. You can join in on the writing sprints. We do 20 minutes of writing, 5 minutes of me yapping. If you're in school, I'll have it in the calendar shortly. I'll have the link in the calendar, but they'll be public, so you can just go to youtube.com/Mallory Cooper and join in then. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. So have a great day. Have a fabulous weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Ciao. Oh, I almost forgot. I can't believe I forgot this. This is supposed to be like one of my major pushes today. This Saturday at noon Eastern is my 4 pillars of ad analysis class. I had stuff ready for this and I got all discombobulated. That's not it. Give me 1 shake of a lamb's leg. I don't even need 2 shakes of a lamb's leg. I just need 1 shake of a lamb's leg. I'll show you guys my little thingy I made for this. Okay, it's kind of tall. This might not have been the best image for it. Anyway, this is what it looks like. Sort of this 4 pillars of ad analysis thing. If you're on our newsletter, Jill probably sent this out to you, but I'm sort of breaking down how to analyze ads into 4 pillars: cost, reach, scaling, and conversion. And then how to measure each one of these things independently, and then have a way of like actually scoring them all and then determining which are your best ads based on these 4 pillars together. And it's also be tied in a bit with your goals as well. Like, is your goal to have like these ads you can scale huge, or is your goal to have sort of a steady flow of readers, maybe a less expensive low rate? But that's happening at noon Eastern time on Saturday. If you want to get in on that, you can go to storytellerlab.net, sign up for it's with a platform called School. Sign up for our school classrooms, and you can go to the calendar, and that's where the link is going to be. And it's only $37 a month, and you actually get everything that we have, all of our classes and courses. But you can sign for just a month, $37, and get access to that class. And you can also like absorb anything else that you want to grab as well. So that is a scant 2 days away. It's going to be, I'm going to try to make it as math light as possible. Sydney, I want to try and make it like as much, like it's going to have a lot of math to it, but it's actually going to be a lot of vibes as well. It's going to be math and vibes. So it'll be something for you. But unfortunately, there is always going to be some math with it. But I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. We have to look at as few numbers as possible. Anyway, I'll see you guys around. I'll see you if anybody wants to sprint in like 15 minutes. There's also a Q&A for those of you who are in school. Q&A is tomorrow at 11 Eastern. And then at noon Eastern on Saturday, we have the analysis. So lots of math in your life this weekend. Yeah, have a good one.